In the last talk, I spoke about impermanence, our experience of impermanence when we sit in meditation, and about all acceptance, allowing that which is arising to arise, and not trying to hold on to it or chase after it, allowing it to pass. Now let's look in a little more detail for a moment at what happens when I don't do this all accepting. What if I try to use my will to firmly hold on to that which is passing? What if I use my will to try to block that which is arising? You only have to do a little of this meditation to find that when you do that, you create, as it were, waves of spiritual turbulence. The way Buddhism traditionally puts this is that you use the will in a way that creates suffering. If I try to hold on to that which is passing, ultimately I'm trying to do something that's not possible. If you want to prove this to yourself, just try to hold any thought for a long period of time. You'll find that no matter how hard you try, you can't do it. And the very trying becomes painful. When we try to do the impossible, it becomes painful. This is true in our daily life, in our actions. It's true when we're just sitting, looking at a wall, meditating. When we try to do the impossible, we create suffering. Now, it may be that even when we're not trying to do the impossible, we're already suffering. But it's not going to help to actually compound that suffering by trying to do the impossible. We don't want to make a difficult situation even more difficult. I'm speaking here in a very simple way about something that is essentially very simple, and yet something the roots of which go very deep indeed. But it's interesting that no matter how far you go in the penetration of the roots of suffering, where suffering comes from, ultimately you'll always come back to it comes from someone using their will in such a way as to try to do the impossible. So you can say that in doing this practice of sitting meditation, we are quietly and with no fanfare working on the very roots of suffering. We're working on the very causes, the ultimate causes of suffering. The problem, of course, is not just the way in which the will is used. It's the fact that there's something that we're not getting when we misuse the will. Buddhism calls this ignorance. There's something that we are ignorant of, or something that we are ignoring. And it may not be obvious for a very long time in doing this practice what that something is that we are ignoring. One simple way of putting it that my teacher often pointed to was that we all actually do possess an intuitive sense of what is good to do and of what is not good to do. This intuitive sense is something that does not force itself on us. It's quiet. It's non-demanding. And so we have to actually pay attention to it, or we miss it. This is sometimes referred to as a still small voice. But do understand that it will not usually express itself as a voice. A voice is most of the time a kind of metaphor. Quiet, intuitive sense of what is good to do, what is not good to do, and even more deeply, of what is truly real and what is unreal. And we'll go into that in the next of these talks.